Hi, my name is Michael Hayaki, founder of Miti Alliance, an organization that focuses on planting and growing trees in Kenya. And our mission is to green Kenya one tree at a time. I'm sure when you're outdoors or in the hot sun, you sometimes look for a tree and sit under its shade. But let me ask, how many trees have you planted? This is my story. I want to take you back to 25 years ago when I was growing up in a small village in Limuru called Manjiri, where my father planted these amazing 3 trees of avocados. And as I grew up, as the trees grew, we would take a picture right next to the trees. And for me, the fascination with trees began there. A bit of my journey was disrupted along the way through high school. Had a very challenging high school. I went to 2 schools, and it was a very challenging time in our family. Then on completing Form 4, of course, not performing really well, coming out to the real world and just thinking, what am I here for? So at the time, I was trying all different kind of odd jobs. We would dig pit latrines, we would dig wells. I tried my hand at being a tout in a matatu, and my parents got the wind of it, and there was noise. Then we were always with the wrong crowd. And I feel like that's where some of the missteps happened. And then, as a human being, you start trying to find yourself and finding your path and what am I here on earth for? And I think looking back at that really did play a great role, because in looking for who I was, I found different people who had, no judgment, who took me as I am. Young people who were, excited to do stuff for the environment, excited to do stuff for the community. And that's how I joined Rotaract Club and started participating. But I didn't know that, again, that would be the start. It's like the way Chronicles of Narnia, just when it's ending is when it is beginning, So for me, my life again began because of another second chance, with finding people who had the ethos for service to humanity and service to God. And I look at it now and I see myself as a younger self, not knowing I would have gotten here, but seeing that, this is how life really is. You never know the journey until you are here. Then you say, wow, it's been quite the journey. The reason why I chose trees is I'm really an outdoor person, and I took part in so many hikes and got involved in so many activities that involved the environment. And we grew up in an area where we would grow maize, beans, all sorts of our food. And the more people came, the more the population grew in our area, the more we realized, the environment is changing. We used to have a spring at our place near where we lived. And at one point, the spring was full of plastics and all kinds of waste. Then more houses were built, and the streams of water would be, directed towards the spring. And this to me was like, we are really damaging our environment. Then came the change in the climate, and then came the damage of our water, catchment areas, the Mau. As a young man, I think way back, we went to the Mau. At the time, Mau was like someone with an afro and with a big ringworm in the middle of the head. And we, along the road, you don't see like the forest has been cut. Then you start walking inside. At that time, Mau didn't have network, and the Mau was freezing cold. As in, you couldn't go without 2 sweaters or a big jacket. And then we appear in this field. Now I used to hear about, people cut trees the size of football fields. I saw that in the mouth. When I really understood what trees were doing for us, for the environment, the kind of climate change we were starting to experience, the global warming, how our environments were changing, I felt, trees provide us with food. We can get fruits from them. Trees make our environment. By all means, there are non-believers up to today who still say, climate change is a hoax. Okay, let's put that aside. But do trees improve the environment? Do trees have an impact to birds, to you, to, for everyone? And I sometimes want people to just understand that aspect of that there's a small beetle that eats the dead leaves on the ground, or a worm that eats the biomass that has fallen onto the ground, and that all comes from the tree. And the tree as well, it takes in the carbon dioxide and then pushes for us oxygen. If anyone has a challenge of understanding that, think of someone trying to breathe in this time of COVID where people are using ventilators. So imagine if we don't have the oxygen. So I try not to disconnect myself with the environment, and how I got really connected to the environment was with the trees. We focus mainly on fruit trees, indigenous trees, and exotics. Why the exotic? They are fast growing, yes, but they could be used for charcoal or wood, or for whatever use at home, building and everything. But the indigenous, they are medicinal. They have the best biomass. They are good for the soil and for the ground. And our forefathers used to use trees for treatment for the diseases they had. So we should use the exotics for our home use and other things, because people still demand wood. And we can't block ourselves and say we don't need timber to build or charcoal. We would be really blinding ourselves and saying, oh, we are not going to eat food. Not everybody can afford LPG gas. So that's the way it is on the ground. And then now goes to the fruit trees, of which we do fruit trees that are fast growing, they're either grafted or the indigenous ones that will be consumed by human beings, but also birds. We live in an ecosystem that needs to be sustainable in different ways. We are focusing on schools, and the reason for schools is that we focus on kids, especially primary schools. The kids are in their formative years. I never forgot the things we learned in our 4K club. I never forgot what we were taught in the Scouts Club. So when I think about them, where they are, everything that we're doing today is for them. They are the next generation. Most of the trees that we plant here, I may not get to sit under their shade, but they will. But now tell me if I don't tell them or teach them or empower them to understand that these trees need to grow. You need to grow with them. The other thing is that the schools have a population, say, of a minimum of 1,000. Imagine you have impacted 1,000 minds. Say, for example, ratio that and say just a number does not, understand what you've said, but there's a few who are going to pick that up. So the schools have the population, they have the workforce, and how many thousands of schools do we have? I think it's about 41,000 across the country. Let's do even half, 20,000 have the space and land. What is the most of it being used for? It's empty. Maybe it's a field, or it's a maize field for the teachers or something. But a good number of schools have 10, 5, 15 acres of land. So they would be the best places to first impact these children, for them to impact the community. The challenges that we have faced as Miti Alliance is, number one, funding to scale our work. We have not been able to go to more counties, and this has happened because the logistics that are involved in tree planting or tree growing are intense. When you think about the transportation, you think about the people who will go there, the seedlings that you will buy, or the seedlings that you'll buy in a local nursery, because you don't want to introduce tree species from another different zone. You want tree seedlings from that zone. And for us, that we've just been able to focus in this area. But our hope is to really go to Western Kenya, where we know that the forest cover is so low. Siaya 0.4%, 0.42% in Kisumu, as in picking an area where it matters most. Going to the eastern side, you know, where you can say, okay, let's start here. Let's start growing trees in this area that are for the environment, and say, you know, in 10 years, this is what we have done. So that kind of funding is needed. But we have been limited to just focus on the schools, focus on the 100 seedlings, do it as best as we can with what we have. The other challenge is that we feel a lot more needs to be done in terms of campaigns, national campaigns that talk about climate change, you know, the state of the environment, you know, our water catchment areas, be it local programs, be it you know, community programs, be it grassroots programs. Just the same way we want to sensitize about, you know, building bridges, the same way it should be that serious when we are sensitizing about environment, because the seasons have changed and every person is being affected, whether it is their crop that's not coming to, you know, full cycle, or the floods or the droughts that are coming. And we are the ones who need to raise that awareness, but we need to do it much further. So going forward, to anyone who wants to join this space, I'd say there's huge opportunities that you could participate in. There's a huge opportunity on sustainable forestry, whereby you're growing trees that would be sold for timber, because we cannot exist by assuming that we won't grow our trees for wood, for timber, for all these needs. But there's also an aspect of where people are land sized, you know, land is huge sizes, where they could plant trees for conservation and, you know, carbon, for carbon trading. There's also an opportunity for, now that the government has said we have 1.8 billion seedlings demand, there's an opportunity for you to set up a nursery and grow your seedlings and sell to the market, because that opportunity is still opening up. And there's also opportunities of where you could green areas such as forests that have been, you know, cut down, and there's that kind of reforestation. And of course we have government agencies that are willing to partner with big organizations to do that. So there's a lot that needs to be done in our space, but we also welcome people who can talk more about what needs to be done, what climate change is, and we feel that that's something that people need to understand so that they start doing something from where they are. That was my story as an agripreneur. A fun fact about trees is that trees help in reducing stress. I challenge you to plant 2 trees in this coming rainy season. I'd be interested also to learn from you as an agripreneur. Please share your story.